Oh, it's starting to look like Candace Owens might not be wildin' after all, because Jaguar Wright just came out and basically backed up everything Candace has been screaming about. Charlie Kirk's passing wasn't normal, it was straight up suspicious. Candace has been saying from day one that Charlie was silenced, and now Jaguar is dropping hints that not only was it planned, but she's about to put names on blast. And if you know Jaguar Wright, you know she doesn't play games. When she talks, people listen. Jaguar has been making it clear that this whole situation is way bigger than what the media is telling us. She's out here claiming there's a major cover-up in play. And Candace? She's been pressing the feds non-stop, demanding transparency because the story started smelling funny the moment the FBI swooped in and snatched the case away from local cops. The Bureau even put out a polished statement saying, as soon as we heard about the shooting, special agents and personnel from the Salt Lake City field office responded immediately. We have full resources devoted to this investigation, including tactical, operational, investigative, and intelligence. Sounds official, right? But Candace and Jaguar aren't buying it, and neither should we. Back then, most folks thought the feds stepping in was just business as usual. Charlie was a big name with ties to power, so of course Washington wanted their hands on the case. And with the way the crime went down, people figured federal involvement was automatic. But Candace, she wasn't buying it. And when she kept sounding the alarm, a lot of fans thought she was reaching. She even tweeted straight up that if the feds really wanted Charlie's killer, they would have blasted every picture and video across the internet and let the public solve it in minutes. But instead, nothing. According to her, the willpower was never there. She accused them of running a huge cover-up, hinting that more players were involved and that the public deserves to know exactly who they are. Candace also pointed to shady online activity, warning that certain Discord chats might hold the missing puzzle pieces. She went as far as reposting claims that the FBI was in that Discord server, and that's why we'll never see it before it's scrubbed clean. That's a bold accusation. Of course, critics fired back, calling her a clout chaser, an attention seeker, even a conspiracy theorist. To them, her theories sounded way too extreme. After all, Charlie was close to the president, who supposedly had his own relationship with the FBI director. So why would they deliberately fumble this case on purpose? So why would the feds drag their feet? Well, if you ask Candace, she swears it's because of a power struggle happening deep behind the scenes. Now, I'm not saying it's fact, and I'm not saying it's cap. I'm just putting out what Candace and others have been hinting at, so take it how you want. She claimed that just weeks before Charlie's passing, he clashed with some billionaires who allegedly threatened him. According to Candace, Charlie had beef with ultra-rich donors who once gave him money, but now wanted him to toe their line. She said the pressure on him was crushing, and that in the last 2 weeks, the truth will be revealed, the messages will be leaked, and the movement he built will rise up. Candace even reposted claims that Charlie was on the verge of losing his last major donor because he refused to kick Tucker Carlson out of his events. That's when she turned the spotlight on the billionaires themselves, accusing them of faking sympathy while secretly pulling strings, calling them cretins who need to be exposed. But she didn't stop there. She doubled down on the FBI too. Reports claimed the Bureau hadn't ruled out that other players may have helped radicalize or guide Charlie's alleged killer. Agents were supposedly digging through chat logs, dark web activity, and shady affiliations tied to the suspect. An FBI official even put out a statement saying, "We are focused on the radicalization element. The truth will not be hidden or buried or classified. The public will know. No stone should be left unturned. The public deserves answers on who radicalized this degenerate, and they must be held accountable." Candace wasn't holding back. She clapped back saying, "We know they are lying. If they'd prefer to push another BS narrative before my show, we'll be happy to shred that one too."
I said there is no way we are going to this event now. There's a 0% chance. First and foremost, why are you saying anybody can go to it? You just buy a ticket to the event, and you're all working to try to get me to confirm that I'm going. And you're doing this as if you're trying to push my buttons and be like, we got to make her get into her ego so she shows up and posts it on social media. Nope, actually, while I'm attacking the feds, maybe not going to a public event which the feds are organizing, is probably a very good idea. I'm good. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna listen to Power on my headphones and go see Ye. How's that for a memorial for Charlie Kirk? That feels like the right thing for me to do right now.
That right there made it clear she thinks the FBI is working hand in hand with the same billionaires she claims wanted Charlie gone. In her eyes, the Bureau is protecting the powerful, and by calling them out, she's painted a huge target on her own back. Fans were stunned when she skipped Charlie's memorial service, but jaws really dropped when she admitted the reason. She was scared for her life. And honestly, given everything swirling around, it didn't take long for people to side with her because the official storyline kept looking shakier by the day. Take this for example, the suspect's own grandmother went public saying her grandson had never even fired a gun in his life. She insisted he had no reason whatsoever to harm Charlie. She said, "My son, his dad, is a Republican for Trump. Most of my family members are Republicans. I don't know any single one who's a Democrat. I'm just so confused. I don't think he ever shot. To tell you the truth, he doesn't hunt. He's never liked anything like that. I know he doesn't own any. There's just no way he could have been that good of a shot. There's no way he could be violent. There's absolutely no way he did that. I watched that boy grow up and I can't imagine it would ever be him. And I'm not just saying that as his grandma, it's knowing him the way I do." That's what the suspect's grandmother swore, and her words had people questioning everything. But then things got even messier when the feds leaked a string of text messages that were supposedly between Tyler and his roommate. And that's where things get even stranger, because right after the grandmother spoke out, online sleuths started digging deeper, and what they uncovered only made the case look messier. People pointed out that if the suspect had zero history with guns, how did he suddenly pull off something so precise? That kind of accuracy doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It takes training, practice, and serious planning. Fans began whispering that maybe he wasn't acting alone, or worse, maybe he wasn't the one who did it at all. Candace jumped on those doubts, saying the FBI was ignoring crucial leads on purpose. She reminded everyone that it's not the first time federal agents stepped in just to control the narrative.
It's clear we're not getting all the information. It's clear something's off here. The first person, the old man, I don't even know why he was grabbed. But he was grabbed and his picture was fondled out. And then there was someone else who was a person of interest. And that didn't work. And then we got this guy. He had a bulletproof vest that might have caught the exit. Really? That's interesting. That's definitely an interesting point of view. But what kind of bulletproof vest are you talking about? Because usually bulletproof vests, they cover your front, they cover your back. There's points of vulnerability on the sides usually. I haven't seen too many. I mean, was he wearing like hardcore Kevlar? Like fully body casted? That's wild. Nobody mentioned that yet. Military grade. He was wearing military grade. I don't know. It's funny. Seems like they might have mentioned that.
And the more she spoke, the more people started to agree. On social media, theories began circulating that the alleged killer might have been a patsy.
But I don't want to even get into the whole thing with the GUN being dismantled, the guy jumping off of the roof without the, weapon. This whole thing looks fishy. And that's why I said, I always say this. I say, I'd rather get all the information first, then make a comment. But yeah, it's just real fishy. Of course. They say
we have a right to question the validity of it. And it's got to pass the smell test. There's something wrong with all of this. And everyone is starting to pick it out piece by piece, thread by thread. Everyone is starting to see something's wrong here. The question is, why?
A fall guy set up to take the blame while the real masterminds stayed hidden in the shadows. Jaguar Wright also poured fuel on the fire by claiming that certain witnesses were already being silenced, their testimonies either altered or buried before the public could hear them. That claim sent chills through her audience, because if true, it means this case isn't about one shooter. It's about protecting powerful people who would do anything to keep their names out of the headlines. The deeper this goes, the harder it is to believe the official story and the louder the calls get for the truth to finally come out. And just when people thought it couldn't get crazier, more inconsistencies started piling up. For one, the timeline of events kept shifting. First, officials said the suspect acted alone. Then whispers came out about outside influences. Which one is it? Candace argued that this flip-flopping wasn't sloppy reporting, it was intentional misdirection. On top of that, leaked reports suggested that surveillance footage from the area had mysteriously vanished. Cameras that should have caught everything suddenly weren't working. Sound familiar? People online were quick to compare it to other high-profile cases where crucial footage just so happened to disappear at the worst possible moment. It almost looked like someone wanted the public blind. Jaguar Wright doubled down, hinting that insiders already knew the truth, but were being forced to keep quiet. She said Charlie's death wasn't some random act. It was a warning shot to anybody who dared to step out of line. That shook fans to their core, because if Jaguar's right, this wasn't just about Charlie. It was about sending a message to everybody watching. And here's the wildest part. Instead of silencing Candace and Jaguar, the attempts to discredit them only made more people start connecting dots. The louder the feds tried to shut them down, the more the public began to suspect that maybe, just maybe, these women were onto something explosive. By this point, fans were demanding receipts, and that's when another shocking detail came out. Court filings revealed that certain evidence logs didn't match up with what investigators claimed. Items were either misplaced, never recorded, or described in ways that made no sense. How does that even happen in a federal case? People online started calling it sloppy at best and deliberate sabotage at worst. Candace pounced on that gap instantly, saying the case was being stripped down on purpose so nothing could ever lead back to the real culprits. She claimed the billionaires she'd been warning about were powerful enough to bury anything that pointed in their direction. And Jaguar, she went even further, suggesting that someone inside was actively cleaning up the trail before the public could get their hands on the truth. Fans couldn't ignore the coincidences piling up anymore. First, the suspect's profile didn't add up. Then surveillance footage went missing. And now, evidence logs are full of holes. For people already skeptical, this was the breaking point. The so-called official version looked more like a badly written script. The chatter online grew louder, with more voices saying Charlie wasn't just another casualty. He was a target in a bigger game. And if Candace and Jaguar were right, then this whole thing wasn't about justice at all. It was about power, control, and silencing anyone who dared to resist. These texts looked sketchy as ever, almost too perfect. They had him confessing to Charlie's death, bragging about engraving bullets, even pointing out exactly where he left the weapons. To most people, it felt staged, like a script written to close the case quickly. And when the math wasn't adding up, more folks started saying out loud what Candace had been shouting from the start: something ain't right here. That's when Jaguar Wright stepped in, and she didn't hold back. On her podcast, she doubled down, backing Candace and claiming that the feds are sitting on way more information than the public knows. But here's the kicker. According to Jaguar, it's not about protecting the investigation. It's about protecting powerful billionaires who might have had a hand in Charlie's death. Jaguar even brought a guest onto her show who raised another chilling question. If the feds are really covering for billionaires, just like Candace and Jaguar claim, then what we're dealing with is way darker than we thought. That's not just bad, that's dangerous. So now it's over to you. Do you think there's a real conspiracy at play, or are Candace and Jaguar just stirring the pot? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button, share this video, and make sure you subscribe to Dripzine for more jaw-dropping stories like this.